Time never stops. Neither do we. But it's not just where we've been or what we've done. It's where we're going. Because Hoosiers work together.
And we are working for you.
That's why we're proud to be Central Indiana's news station. And no matter how fast time flies, we'll always make the most of yours. Only on Wrtv 6.
We have live team coverage tonight as the flurry of activity is also underway as to who will replace Pence on the ballot for governor. We start with Wrtv 6's Rafael Sanchez working for you live in New York.
Erica and Todd, good afternoon and welcome to New York City, where it's been hot and humid, but the big H that really counts is the Hilton. That is where Donald Trump will officially unveil Governor Mike Pence to the nation tomorrow at 11 o'clock. It all begins tomorrow. Of course, we got some of that today after the Donald tweeted and ended all the speculation that he had chosen Indiana's governor to be his running mate. Now, a lot of talk about that as well, because there was some talk that Mr. Trump was trying to find a way to dump Mr. Pence on Thursday night, but instead he decided to hire Mr. Pence instead of firing him. Let me take you to the Intercontinental Hotel. That has been the home for the Pences since they arrived in the big city, the Big Apple, on Thursday. And check this out. Check out all of that media. That will be the life of the Pences moving forward. All of that press coverage as every move that they make, they'll be asked about every policy and every tweet and everything that Donald Trump has to say moving forward. They left the hotel only after Donald Trump sent that tweet this morning. Now, Mr. Pence said that he was humbled and excited and grateful for the selection.
He was still making his decision late last night.
Very humble, very grateful.
What are you going to be speaking to Mr. Trump about?
Just looking forward to meeting with Pence and talking about our plans for tomorrow. And
Governor Pence, turn around so the rest of the cameras can see you.
Governor Pence, do you think Trump ever changed his mind on you? Do you think he ever changed his mind?
Today we learned that Governor Pence was offered the job last Wednesday, and Donald Trump made it clear why he picked Pence, even though there was chatter that he was not his first choice.
Indiana Governor Mike Pence was my first choice. I've admired the work he's done, especially in the state of Indiana.
Donald Trump is hoping to squash reports that he was not going to pick Mike Pence as his running mate. He pointed to Indiana's strong economy and the governor's character as major pluses, as well as Pence's ability to put at ease the party's base.
Now, I think if you look at one of the big reasons that I chose Mike, and one of the reasons is party unity, I have to be honest. So many people have said party unity.
At times, Trump went off script and reminded himself he was here to introduce Pence.
All right. Back to Mike Pence.
After nearly 30 minutes, Governor Pence took the stage.
And I accept your invitation to run and serve as Vice President of the United States of America.
Pence said he was offered the VP job on Wednesday after the rally in Westfield on Tuesday and explained why he accepted the position.
First, because I know from firsthand experience that strong Republican leadership can bring about real change, just like we've seen in the Hoosier State. And secondly, because Hillary Clinton must never become President of the United States of America.
Both men will reunite next week in Cleveland for the Republican National Convention. We'll see you there as Wrtv 6 begins full coverage of that all of next week. In New York City, Rafael Sanchez, Wrtv 6.
I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
Donald Trump's big night at the Republican National Convention.
You just saw it moments ago on Wrtv 6. Trump speaking to millions of potential voters, now one step closer to the White House. We have complete Democracy 2016 team coverage, starting with Rafael Sanchez. He is live at the RNC in Cleveland. Rafael.
Good evening and welcome. We are coming to you live from inside the queue where it is still raining confetti and balloons. Donald Trump and Mike Pence have left the stage, but quite a fiery speech that Donald Trump delivered here inside this arena. It went for more than an hour, and he covered almost every subject imaginable, from the economy to immigration to school choice, to even at one point talking about TSA. Let me show you from our ABC vantage point at ABC News, our world headquarters, global partners, is also, as you saw from our coverage here tonight, you can see the excitement in this room, and these delegates have been here for the last 4 days, of course, promising to bring something new to America. Now they will take this momentum into the country. It is official. The ticket of Donald Trump and Mike Pence, and the campaigning, of course, now begins in earnest tomorrow as both men now head into the country. During the speech, Donald Trump promised to bring law and order to the country. In fact, he said that safety would be restored on January the 20th, 2017, if he's elected. He told the delegates to make sure to defeat Hillary Clinton after they began to chant, "Lock her up." The delegates also chanted a familiar phrase, "Build that wall." As for Mike Pence, he called him a good guy and went on to say that their administration will bring Indiana's economic success to the nation. For now, though, really behind me, as you can see from these live pictures on RTV6, this 4-day convention is now coming to a close. But again, the campaign is just beginning as the Democratic National Convention begins on Monday.
We're coming up to just less than 3 hours away from what could be the biggest night of Mike Pence's political career so far. He and Senator Tim Kaine, they are going to go on the stage at Longwood University in Virginia for the only vice presidential debate ahead of next month's election. That's where Rafael Sanchez is live tonight as the anticipation continues to build. Rafael.
We're going to go on a bombshell.
And Melissa, good evening and welcome to Farmville, Virginia. I want to begin the news at 6 with a major headline. A senior Trump advisor telling us that they believe that they can carry Virginia, this battleground state, depending on what Governor Pence does in that building behind me. As you know, that is Wood Hall. That is the site of the debate tonight. Of course, both Governor Pence and Senator Tim Kaine under a lot of pressure. They must perform big time tonight. They will tackle issues for about 90 minutes inside the hall when the debate begins at 9 o'clock. We do not know the questions yet, but many people are telling me that they believe that this encounter will be much more issues-oriented and much more detailed than what we saw with the Clinton and Trump encounter from last week. The moderator does hope to get through 9 questions tonight. Now, again, I spoke to one senior Trump campaign advisor who believes that they will win Virginia based on Pence's performance.
It's actually great for us to get to come into a battleground state, and we're not scared to go into anybody's backyard, and I think we have a really good shot at Virginia to do well here, and I think in large part that'll be because of the performance that Governor Pence will give here tonight.
We have team coverage tonight breaking down what happened on that debate stage. First, let's get over to Rafael Sanchez. He is live where it all took place in Virginia tonight. Rafael, what are you learning?
It was quite the debate drama. In fact, we had to step outside of the media room because it is so loud inside to give you this report. But what you saw tonight was 90 minutes plus of a very spirited debate. Let's go right to the video to show you exactly what happened. Melissa, as you pointed out, both men greeted each other. They shook hands, they smiled at each other, and then they went right after each other. They were prepared to come for a fight, and that they did. In the beginning, again, both were very kind and smiling with each other, but when the issues began, they went right to it. And the moderator at one point had asked both men to stop talking over each other. The men debated on the economy, immigration, national security, and Russia. They came prepared, and they fought on all the different issues. That fight on full display. Both men agreed only on one thing over the 90 minutes: a safe zone for Syria and community policing. At one point, even Governor Mike Pence was able to give a shout out to Fort Wayne when it came to the economy. Now, right now, what's happening in the spin room behind me, we have a number of people that are trying to give us their insight as to who won. We spoke to Kellyanne Conway with the Trump-Pence campaign, as well as to Robbie Mook with the Clinton-Kaine campaign. We have extensive interviews with both parties. We'll have those for you on Good Morning Indiana, and we're going to try to get them on the RTV6 app as possible. Just to give you an idea, though, it is quite chaotic as both men left Willett Hall here on the campus of Longwood University for this one-of-a-kind vice presidential debate. Right now, the the spin room is just busy and chaotic. We had to step outside so that you could be able to hear us. Much more coming up on this developing story tomorrow morning on Good Morning Indiana. We are live in Farmville, Virginia. Rafael Sanchez, RTV 6.
And breaking now on Good Morning Indiana, if you're just waking up this morning, it has been a night for the history books.
Donald Trump is now the president-elect of the United States. He is securing his stunning victory over Hillary Clinton just before 3 o'clock this morning.
It's been what they call a historic event, but to be really historic, we have to do a great job. And I promise you that I will not let you down. We will do a great job.
Donald Trump's victory in Pennsylvania helped secure his nomination early this morning. Before the president-elect took the stage, Indiana Governor Mike Pence addressed the crowd.
This is a historic night. The American people have spoken, and the American people have elected their new champion.
Hillary Clinton did not take the stage overnight, but called President-elect Trump to congratulate him on the victory. Now, it was a Republican landslide for the state of Indiana and the country. Republican Lieutenant Governor Eric Holcomb wins the race for governor.
As you look, and it's very difficult to tell. I'm just looking at the monitors here. Certainly looks like the V shape of a tornado there. As we get a closer view, it's just at this distance, it's hard to tell, but sometimes circulations are reaching the ground and you don't really know it until you see some debris within there. We're obviously looking through the windshield. Other things that happen, when you have such a humid environment, there are so many clouds so low to the ground. Some of these are what we call scud. They're debris clouds behind this or below the base of the clouds. But remember what we were talking about before, what they'll see, and we're just watching this now. All right, look at the wind field start to change. See that circulation? See it spinning?
Left side of your
screen. Okay, so you're
there.
watching the tornado now. Guys, you're going to need to be prepared to move from that location. You can see where it's moving, but that is a large circulation, and you're beginning to see the debris. So on your right-hand side, you see the debris within the tornado. And also,
you're seeing some of that coming from overhead, actually, from where our crew is sitting.
And you'll watch the wind direction swirl around, not just coming from one straight.
And you can see the cornfield there as well, pulling in that wind and that circulation.
So you guys move as you need to, but you are watching live a tornado in Hamilton County near Boxley and 6 Points Road. This is 256th Street, just to the west of 31. And the wind speed's potentially 136 miles per hour or stronger in the Howard County tornado. There's been a preliminary rating of EF3, so that would be 136 miles per hour or stronger. An EF1, winds of up to 110 miles per hour in Montgomery County. The potential tornado in Tipton County, the reason for the tornado warning continuing is this storm right near Windfall, just to the southeast of Windfall, will move into northern portions of Madison County, north of Elwood, Summitville, Alexandria would be in the path of this storm as it cuts across from Tipton into northern portions of Madison County. I don't know if you've seen anything recently on that. Still, radar indicated the last we had seen as storm spotters are following that. Kyle?
Yeah, still continuing with that tornado warning, so until 8:45 here. So let's get you an update on that warning coming out of the National Weather Service. Still a storm capable of producing a tornado around Windfall City, moving to the east at 25 miles per hour. So we've not had any spotters spot a tornado from the storm, but we're continuing to track it now as it moves east of 213. So Elwood also in the path of this storm as we continue to watch that one. And Kevin, we were talking about some of the damage in Kokomo, and I know that the governor was talking about, Kokomo was hit in 2013. That was an EF2 tornado, so at least one of the tornadoes that hit Kokomo earlier today, even stronger than that.
Central Indiana, battered by tornadoes. And we didn't just report it, we went to work for you, raising donations and pitching in to help our fellow Hoosiers. Text Red Cross to 90999 to donate $10 to American Red Cross Tornado Relief.
Punched in the gut, stabbed in the back.
The best way to stay competitive is to move production to Monterrey, Mexico.
What am I going to do?
They've gotten a raw deal. Very disrespectful, and I felt like they left us behind.
Life is going to change.
We have heard your anger and your disappointment over Carrier's decision to move jobs here.
We're not going away quietly.
Mexico's a disaster.
Would you work for $3 an hour?
Something's got to change in this country.
Workers take a stand outside the Carrier plant.
We've got to keep these jobs here.
Call 6 investigates. Moving to Mexico from RTV 6.
Anger, anxiety, fear. Those are the feelings that Carrier workers are dealing with every day. The company's decision to move to Mexico triggered an avalanche of questions. What's next? Will another company try to do the same thing? Can anyone stop it? It's a crucial issue in Indiana when you consider this. 1 in 5 Hoosiers works in manufacturing. We've heard the number for months. 2,100 jobs from Indianapolis and Huntington heading to Mexico. Now, for the first time ever, some of those workers walk us through those heartbreaking moments. The day that the silence on the assembly lines gave way to screams of outrage.
Got to the plant, same time, clocked in. I'm TJ Bray, I've been there for 14 years.
February 10th, yes. My name is Richard Burns, and I've worked at Carrier for 22 years.
February 10th, that's my birthday. Larry A. Linville. I usually don't get guests at 70, but I'm 70 on my 51st year at Carrier.
It changed everything that day. My name is Ashley Shockley. I've worked at Carrier for 11 years.
About 10 o'clock.
Between 10 and 10:30.
Supervisor's calling for the associates to go to the supervisor's desk, one line at a time.
My name is Tom Fugate. I'm 61 years old, and I work for United Technology Carrier Corporation. We were working, we had our presses running. So my supervisor come by and said, shut your machine off and report up there to the Green Mile.
We call it the Green Mile.
The Green Mile was created for the safety of pedestrians. We walked into the death of our livelihoods, the death of how we're going to feed our families, the death of how we're going to live every day, day to day.
The best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico.
I was with my son when they made the announcement, and I wasn't thinking of me because I can retire.
It's just sad that all of our jobs are leaving. My name's Julie Meadows. I'm 40 and I worked at Carrier for 12 years.
You feel like you helped build it, and then they decide to move.
They are going to make too much money by moving. Corporate greed, you can't mess with that.
Definitely a punch in the gut.
It's sad.
For us people that put blood, sweat, and tears into this place, just to get that.
This is strictly a business decision.
What's people going to say when you tell them, hey, we're moving your job to Monterrey, Mexico?
Did that just happen?
If you don't want to hear it, other people do. So let's quiet down.
They tell them to shut up because they need to shut up so other people might want to hear what they say. Once they said they was moving, nobody wanted to hear what they had to say.
So I called my wife and told her, and she was in disbelief too. And actually, what she did was she left work and met and had a beer with me.
To me, I feel betrayed by the company.
If they can live with it, I can live without it. And I'm not begging you to stay. If you don't want to stay, get on out.
The immediate question that you asked us after that announcement, why did Carrier choose Monterrey? So we traveled 1,200 miles to track down the answers. The region of 5 million people, about the size of Indiana, is Mexico's economic engine. Our drone flew over one of Carrier's 4 facilities. These, as you can see, are not small operations. Their specialty is making rooftop air conditioners. Soon, Monterrey will build the furnaces now made in Indianapolis.
Carrier's hurting us, but then they want to go down there and exploit workers for $3 an hour. It's just not right.
So let's talk about the $3 per hour. It comes out to about 50 pesos in Mexico, depending on the exchange rate. While in Monterrey, we stopped at a neighborhood grocery store next to a carrier plant. So what could a worker earning $3 an hour buy? A half gallon of milk, 26 pesos.
So, señora, ¿cuánto cuesta este pan? How much is this bread?
Ese cuesta
A loaf of bread, 28 pesos.
28.
I was 4 pesos over budget.
So I already spent my 50 pesos on this.
Bottom line, Carrier's Indiana production workers could not afford to move to Monterrey. That's why I asked a top United Technologies executive a very specific question as he headed into a meeting with the governor at the State House. Sir, would you work for $3 an hour?
Looking forward to discussing with the governor the transition for our workers and getting back to business.
So I take it you would not work for $3 an hour, sir? Robert McDonough recently told investors that the company was focused on production work going to lower-cost countries. Carrier expects to save $65 million a year when it moves to Mexico. And now families are scrambling to rebuild their lives without the jobs that brought them security for such a long time. One of those families is Ashley Shockley and her 5 children. It's 5 in the morning.
I am a mother of 5. I'm a full-time Carrier employee.
11 years on the job.
You don't hear a lot of people saying, oh, I've only been here a year or 2 years.
What time that is,
Yes.
actually?
Yes.
What time is that?
It's time for everybody to get up. Good morning. Time for school. Get up. Get up. Come on. KK, come on. You gonna get up? Is that what you're wearing? I better go make a bottle first because she'll scream.
Ashley Shockley runs her own assembly line at home.
Sometimes it can be overwhelming.
Making baby bottles. Serving breakfast.
It's 7:05. Telling me to hurry up. Can you give me that ironing board, please?
Ironing clothing and working on multiple hairstyles. These moments are her motivation not to relive the past.
I was in a place that wasn't a so happy place before Carrier. I was, struggling to just maintain and feed myself. It was a very dark place. I thought, with Carrier, there was security that wouldn't happen anymore.
The unknown means spending less. She dropped her rental home lease and squeezed into this apartment.
No vacations.
Eating out is limited, and her furnace, ironically a Carrier unit, is only on when necessary.
Every time I go over there and I look at that, it's a reminder of I no longer am going to make that.
She dreamed of advancing within Carrier by earning separate business degrees in administration and management from IUPUI and Ivy Tech.
I like my company.
Carrier's education program paid for her schooling. But after 8 years of college, the lesson she will never forget came on February the 10th.
This is strictly a business decision.
That plays over and over to me because that's not loyal. If it was strictly a business decision for some of us, when I got my first degree, I would have just abandoned them. I would have left.
By 8 o'clock, the family heads out the door.
It's like a little freeway in the morning. I recently just became a single parent.
Is she okay? She's still sleeping? Okay. Love you.
2 more stops, and then she'll sleep.
It's scary to wake up with the thought of not knowing if you can really provide for the 5 people that are depending on you.
Ashley has a sister and aunt who work at the plant. On Mother's Day, she'll receive the ultimate gift, a college degree from IUPUI. Right now, there's a degree of desperation for people facing ongoing health issues.
Them closing is nothing compared to going through cancer.
Battling cancer and what Carrier's decision means for the fight of her life. Nancy McCubbin wants to share her story next.
President-elect Donald Trump in Indiana announcing the deal that will keep 1,100 jobs at the Indianapolis Carrier plant. Trump and Vice President-elect Mike Pence also meeting with those workers today. RTV6 working for you with full team coverage. We begin tonight with Rafael Sanchez, who's been following the Carrier job story since it began in February. Rafael?
Erica, good evening. We are inside the Union Hall, Local 1999. It is a great day for hundreds of Carrier workers. As we saw President-elect Donald Trump, he made a deal, negotiated a deal with United Technologies Corporation, which owns Carrier, to keep hundreds of jobs in Indianapolis, jobs that would have left beginning sometime next year. But I want to take you really inside of my reporter's notebook to show you those numbers and to really talk to you about what we can expect really in the days and months to come. We heard about more than 1,100 jobs saved. 730 of those jobs are union workers who right now make gas furnaces here in Indianapolis. 70 are salaried positions. The other 300 are the research and engineering jobs that were never going to leave Indianapolis per se. They were not part of the original jobs losses. So what is the real story behind all these numbers? 600. So let that soak in right now. At this point, some 600 jobs connected to the fan coil division. Those are the folks that make electric furnaces. These jobs are still slated to go to Monterrey, Mexico.
Rafael, we've posted the story online. Carrier Corporation preventing you from attending this Trump event today after you've been asking them some very tough questions for months on behalf of workers right here in central Indiana.
Yeah, we've been covering the story since February the 10th when the company made the announcement, and today I was quite surprised when I received an email at 7:33-ish saying that my press credential was denied to enter the Carrier plant. I did reach out to the Trump-Pence media office. They checked their records. They told me that there was nothing that they could do, that I should go ahead and reach out to Carrier. I did that via email, reaching out to the Indianapolis office as well as to the corporate office in Connecticut. Nothing came back. You know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, we are committed to doing our jobs. And, you know, I guess I'm sorry, but not really, that I covered the stories of hundreds of workers who at the end of the day could not afford to live off $3 an hour. So if Carrier is upset that I went to Monterrey, that I told those stories, that I brought this to the attention of Indianapolis, I'm okay. I will sleep good tonight. If they don't want me in their building, that's fine as well. They are a private company. This is America. There are rules. I did not cross the line and get on their private facility. I will still do my job. So it's all good. We're going to still do our jobs. It's not about me. It's about the folks today that are very, very excited that they get to keep their jobs. But on the other hand, Erica, I have to be honest with you. I'm really concerned as well for the 600 jobs that we have to talk about, those 600 Indianapolis jobs that are not so lucky, possibly. And we also have to think about the 700 jobs in Huntington that are going to go to Mexico. And we also have to think about the 350 jobs at Rexnord that are also waiting to see if President-elect Trump and VP-elect Pence will also offer those companies the same deals that those families can stay here.
Tonight, 500 miles to immortality. And if it was only as simple as that. Roger Penske knows the push and the perils. Can the most successful owner in the history of the sport rewrite the record books again? The formula for success 50 years ago led to iconic wins from names like Clark, Hill, and Andretti. Just as Montoya did last year, could Formula One lead two others down the same path? And the whine of the engines, second only to the whine of Napa, California. In the end, Indy 500 winning car owner Jimmy Vasser has learned to manage both. This year's ultimate test of man versus machine has only just begun. Right now on Trackside 6.
Live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and RTV6 Sports, this is Trackside 6.
Get down to business here. They're going green next time by 10-4. Be nice and smooth here. Clear by 5-6, clear by 7.
Roger Penske isn't exactly all talk. Leads an organization with over 5 decades of history, with more achievements than any other in the sport, and with a one-of-a-kind museum in Scottsdale, Arizona.
This is fabulous.
Called the Penske Racing Museum. A far cry from when Martha Penske stood as her husband Jay took a young Roger to his first Indy 500 in 1951.
you ever wonder, if that doesn't happen, does any of this happen?
Well, I guess, you know, it's like any other boy when he's 14 years old and your dad is trying to take you to do something to keep you out of trouble. I guess he took me to Indianapolis, and quite honestly, I got into trouble, didn't I? Well,
it was the reverse.
Yeah.
Look what it started.
And Roger was hooked. But first as a driver, and a successful one. He had some 40 victories at the most famous tracks in the U.S. and named the North American Driver of the Year in 1962. But 3 years later, he was forced to turn down an offer to test a Clint Bronner car at Indianapolis, while he pursued another goal of owning a car dealership in Philadelphia.
More important was the fact my dad was retired at that point, and I needed $50,000 to help, you know, buy the dealership. And I remember going to Pittsburgh with him. We drove to Pittsburgh, and he took that money out of his savings account. He said, look, if we lose it, I'll go back to work. So I had a pretty, that was a time in my life where I had to realize I was committed to what I had to do, so there was no more racing.
You don't look back and regret that decision at all?
No, I think that Mario Andretti, who took the test and said to me, he's had a great career. There's no question. And
you're saying it worked out well for both of you then?
I would say that both of us ended up in the right spot. The cars look pretty much
the museum personifies the Penske pursuit. From the Speedway bricks leading to the two-story showroom to a treasure trove inside, including the 1979 IROC Camaro that Mario drove and a white Porsche RSR driven by Mark Donohue.
You know, this is an amazing car. This was the first car in IROC.
Yeah.
It was the one that won the first race. And guess what? A couple of weeks ago at Amelia Island, a car just like that went for $2.5 million. So this might be take care of my grandkids for a while if I sell that. So pretty special car.
Hang on to that.
Co-developed.
He's also hanging on to this gallery, gushing with Indy winners and others.
This is the car, the PC5.
Like Tom Sneva's 200-mile-an-hour record breaker from 1977 and this Rick Mears machine from 1982.
This is one of my favorite car. This was the one that really changed the world with the under tray. This was the one that finished second, unfortunately, to Gordon Johncock. But guess what? We went to Pocono and we blew him off. So it's got a special place, you know, in my life for sure.
The only thing stock in this haul comes from his stock cars.
These Penske cars were something.
These rocket ships come from the day when championships were homemade.
We had the benefit, you know, for many years of building our own cars, and we just didn't buy something off the shelf.
Is it harder now because everyone essentially has the same equipment?
Well, there's no question. You start with the same 7-iron. It just depends how you hold it and how you swing it, I guess, but and who's swinging it.
But Penske knew early Indy wasn't a hole-in-one. He first arrived as a car owner in 1969.
We realized it was going to take a complete team effort, and the job probably wouldn't be done for at least 3 years.
In fact, it was his fourth 500 when he won with the late Mark Donohue.
When you bring on Mark Donohue, how key is that to the growth?
He was fully dedicated. He was an engineer from Brown University. He wanted to race. He was technically very savvy. And we just came together as almost like a family.
Do you feel like you have a good eye for talent in racing? I mean, you think of the drivers that have driven for him. My goodness. It's a who's who.
Well, I think that, you know, drivers make teams, teams make drivers.
Rick Mears. His winning drivers include Rick Mears, Bobby Unser, Danny Sullivan, Al Unser, Emerson Fittipaldi, Al Unser Jr., Helio Castroneves, Gilles de Ferran, Sam Hornish Jr., and Juan Pablo Montoya, the owner who took a chance 50 years ago to become the winningest owner in sports history.
What was Plan B if that didn't work out?
Well, I was really, Plan A was that I was a Chevy dealer.
So racing was Plan B.
I saw racing as something that I love to do myself. I saw it as a way to build our brand. And there's no question as we built the team and we've seen it integrate within the company, you know, for so many years, it's been a real asset. And quite honestly, I think it's been a competitive advantage for us.
Roger takes his cars out for an occasional spin.
This was the pace car for '72 when Mark Donohue won the race. This might be the car I need to drive back and forth from the hotel this year. Maybe it'll be my good luck charm.
And a chance to check up on his business.
Maserati and Ferrari, Land Rover, BMW, and Mini.
You and Porsche go back a while, don't you?
Well, we race Porsches. I race Porsche Spiders. We've got Audi, Jag. We have Bentley. We have Rolls-Royce. We got Bugatti.
In the Ferrari dealership, can you get me a deal?
I can get you a deal for sure. You're from Indianapolis, so we can get you one.
Fantastic. This is what I like to hear.
We tour his nearly 60-acre super complex packed with 5,000 cars.
Look at this. Paparazzi.
Morning.
That's great. Morning.
Morning.
Just last year, his 340 franchises around the country sold 430,000 new and used cars.
When you started that one dealership, now look at all this. Did you ever think this could happen?
Well, in my wildest dreams, I wouldn't have believed it.
Where does that come from,
Well, I
Roger?
think that really, when I think about it, it's, my dad told me one thing, as you grow up, don't worry about yourself, you know, do what's best for the company, and you'll succeed.
The history, the danger, the tradition, and RTV6 is the only place to see it all. The Angie's List Grand Prix of Indianapolis and the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. This May, the only place to see the race is on RTV6.
1911, the automobile business was booming in Indiana. More than a dozen auto manufacturers called Indianapolis home, including Marmon, American, and Empire. More than 40 other car companies operated in other cities around the state. And 4 businessmen saw a golden opportunity. 2 years before, Carl Fisher and his 3 partners, James Allison, Arthur Newby, and Frank Wheeler, built the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as a testing facility for the rapidly growing industry. In 1911, they took the next step, hosting the first Indianapolis 500. 40 drivers qualified for the race. The number 32 Marmon Wasp, with its yellow and black paint scheme, started 28. Ray Haroon was behind the wheel, an employee of the Marmon Motor Car Company. He was the only driver who didn't have a riding mechanic, who served as a spotter. He used what is now called a rear-view mirror on his car. It took 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 8 seconds to complete the race, but there were thrills and spills along the way. It was a group effort to get cars upright and removed. It might appear there is snow on the track, but it's really white sand to absorb oil. Haroon skillfully navigated all the obstacles, took the checkered flag, and was all smiles in victory lane. On the road to 100, Derek Thomas, RTV6.
In the midst of the Great Depression, about 400,000 people called the city of Indianapolis home in 1931. But the financial challenges of the time didn't slow progress in the city. In the spring, crews broke ground on the Indianapolis VA Hospital on Cold Spring Road to serve veterans of the First World War. And construction neared completion on the new Indianapolis Municipal Airport, 7 miles southwest of downtown. And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway also marked a huge step forward.
And they're off. No place to go for 5 long hours, but around and around at a 100-mile-an-hour pace.
On the track for the first time ever, a diesel-powered car entered by Indianapolis's own Cummins engine.
1949, and things will never be the same. Television arrives in Indianapolis. The first station on air, Channel 6, WFBM at the time. We signed on May 30th, 1949, showing the racing documentary Crucible of Speed, and immediately followed with the first live television broadcast of the entire Indianapolis 500. A camera even made its way to the top of the first double-decker grandstand in Turn 1, capturing the heart-stopping moments in real time. History was made.
Just days ahead of the 1974 Indianapolis 500, relief for Hoosiers and the nation as the oil embargo was lifted and gas started flowing again around Indy. Downtown construction was wrapping up on Market Square Arena. While at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, construction had dominated as well in the wake of a tragic race in 1973. It was safety over speed in 74 with raised retaining walls, a widened turn 4, and a rebuilt pit entrance. Smaller wings and fuel tanks helped protect the drivers as well.
Last minute, there's the green flag. They're racing at Indianapolis.
On the track, the green flag flew from a safer elevated stand on the outside of the main straight, and A.J. Foyt would take the lead by lap 3 as he went for win number 4.
Then Mayor Bill Hudnut proclaimed March 29, 1984, one of the greatest days in the history of this city. An NFL franchise was now in place in the Circle City, the Indianapolis Colts. Just 2 months later, history was in the making in another sport, racing. The 1984 Indianapolis 500 still holds the record for most entries, 117. On pole day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Tom Sneva became the first to qualify for the 500 with a speed over 210 miles per hour. 6 rows back on the inside of row 7, another first. Sports writer turned racer Pat Bedard became the only journalist to qualify for the 500. In the front row, 2 former winners, Sneva and Rick Mears, each looking for their second win.
Green flag flies.
The two traded the lead back and forth several times, but when mechanical trouble ended Sneva's day on lap 169, the race became Mears to lose. He led 119 of 200 laps.
Big changes in the sports world made headlines in 1996. The Indianapolis Indians began the spring playing their final games at Busch Stadium on 16th Street. Their new downtown home Victory Field was just about done, and they finished out the season there. Meanwhile, further down the street at 16th and Georgetown, months of controversy came to a head at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The 80th Indy 500 was the first under the newly formed Indy Racing League. Most of the top teams and drivers boycotted the race, calling it a lockout of kart teams by the IRL. Those rival teams staged their own race the same day, the US 500 in Michigan. The Indy 500 was full of rookies looked upon by fans as a group of replacement drivers, bringing the prestige of the race into question. But Scott Brayton was not one of them. A veteran of 15 500s, he qualified for the pole at more than 233 miles per hour. But just 6 days later, during practice, Brayton hit the wall and was killed. His death cast a dark cloud over the rest of the month. With Brayton gone, Hoosier Tony Stewart moved into the pole position in his first 500. Stewart was the fastest rookie ever to qualify.
The 1996 Indianapolis 500 is
on race day, he led a total of 44 laps before his engine blew. He was still named Rookie of the Year. The name etched in 500 history on the Borg Warner Trophy belonged to Buddy Lazier. He drove into Victory Circle just 2 months after breaking his back in a racing accident. On the road to 100, Chris Prophet, Wrtv 6.
2006, basketball racing and a big change. In April, Indianapolis once again hosted the men's NCAA Final Four, but high winds marred the festivities. Several buildings were damaged as thousands were leaving the John Mellencamp concert on Monument Circle. It was also time for a change. Hoosiers moved their clocks forward as daylight saving time took effect after years of debate. That meant the start of the race was pushed back to 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the first time. 19-year-old Marco Andretti made his first Indianapolis 500 start. His father Michael would come out of retirement for one more go at the 500. Defending race winner Dan Weldon was strong again, leading 148 laps, but a cut tire late in the race forced him to make an extra stop. Weldon would have to settle for 4th place. The final restart saw Michael and Marco 1 and 2, son passing father for the lead with 3 to go. But the big charge was coming from pole winner Sam Hornish Jr. Hornish closed in on Marco during the final lap, and as they came out of turn 4, Hornish made the pass and beat Andretti by just 15 feet.
For the first time, Indianapolis hosted the big game, the showdown between the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. All eyes were on Indiana for Super Bowl 46. But our state also made national headlines that year for another reason. In March, a tragic day for small towns in southern Indiana. Severe storms killed 14 people, and a massive tornado ripped through Henryville, destroying the town's high school. It would inspire Hoosiers from around the state to help our neighbors to the south to rebuild. The skies were clear and blue as race day arrived in May, but hearts were heavy as Dan Weldon's car took a slow ceremonial lap around the track. The reigning 500 champion was killed in a racing crash just months after his second 500 victory.
The gleaming candlelight
Jim Neighbors was there in spirit, but not in person. Still, he carried on the tradition of singing Back Home Again in Indiana. Illness kept him from traveling, but he led the crowd in a taped version of the legendary song on the big screen. After the green flag dropped, the lead changed hands a record 34 times, 9 of them during the last 29 laps alone. Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti battled with their friend Tony Kanaan, but Franchitti was on target, and it led to a dramatic finish. On the final lap, Takumu Sato challenged Franchitti for the lead. Sato spun out and hit the wall. That finish put Franchitti in an elite group. He became the 10th driver in the history of the race to win the 500 3 times.
The year is 2016. Anticipation builds for the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500, but not before a new mayor is sworn in.
I, Joe Hogsett.
Joe Hogsett takes over where Mayor Greg Ballard left off. And speaking of politics, a rare moment in the state's primary history as Indiana plays a huge role in the race for president, as Republican voters gave Donald Trump a vote of approval in what turned out to be the knockout punch for both Ted Cruz and John Kasich. At Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the Patriots introduced a new coach, handing the reins to Nate McMillan after not bringing back the popular Frank Vogel. But all eyes in May turned to the Speedway, complete with the new upper deck seating and a new main gate, part of the track's $100 million Project 100. Team Penske pilot Simon Pagenaud begins the month in style. The hottest driver in the Verizon IndyCar Series wins the Grand Prix of Indianapolis on the track's road course, his second win in the Grand Prix. It set the stage for one of the greatest comebacks in the Oval's history, as 29-year-old James Hinchcliffe battled back from a near-fatal accident the year prior to win his first career Indy 500 pole. 5 rookies and 6 former champions are among the 33 drivers ready to make history on race day. On the road to 100, day first, RTV6.
It was like the tears of millions of Cubs fans were falling from heaven. Alas, the team with the longest drought might have been saved by a little rain. They regrouped, Cubs bounced back, rejuvenated. 15 minutes later, 2 runs in the 10th, and finally, something Cubdom have been waiting generations for. I guess that means the lovable loser mantra is gone. Something a lot of Cub fans actually secretly enjoyed and reveled in, as sick as that might sound. But anyway, last night was about more than the players. It was about the public celebs who suffered with us, from Bob Newhart till, of course, comedian Bill Murray. It was about friends who hung out in the bleachers with you, and it was about family as well. My great-grandfather, Shug Livers, would have enjoyed it. That's me with him back in 1970. It was in his house where the voice of Cubs broadcaster Jack Brickhouse would echo through the hallways. And it was really for my great-grandmother, Ruth, the diehard Cubs fan in the family. No question she's smiling now. This is about the dads who take their sons to games and the daughters who wonder why Dad keeps yelling at the TV. And those memories resonate throughout Cubdom. Where else do you have fans writing names of friends and family on the side of the baseball stadium, names of those who are no longer with us? So if Cub fans seem a little over the top, a little obnoxious right now, please forgive us. This is personal. 108 years, it's a long time to wait.
Kids should respect the weather, not fear it.
Kevin Gregory's Weather Camp, sponsored by God Be Air.
Campers have fun learning what to expect and what to do. Tall objects. Storm Team 6 is working for you to keep your family safe. Thanks, campers, from RTV6. Hoosier Spirit is alive and well. You've put smiles on the faces of thousands of kids by supporting the RTV6 Toy Drive. Thanks for your generous donations and creative presentations. You ready to go take a flying leap into all these bears? RTV6 is working for you to make the holiday season brighter for families in need.
The RTV6 Toy Drive is sponsored by Indiana Farmers Insurance, 1 Hour Heating and Air, your Central Indiana Chevy dealers, IUPUI, and U-Store.
Happy holidays from all of us at RTV6.
Rosario Serra rarely has a so-so day. She's too excited and busy. Her goal, 1,000 dresses before she turns 100. And she's working on it for the young girls who call her Auntie Rosario. she learned to sew as a child. Born in 1916 in Spain, her family moved to Argentina after her 8th birthday. In 1998, Rosario became a U.S. citizen. While her English is limited, the words she knows give you insight into her soul. What's your favorite English word?
I love you.
I love you. That's good.
Esa es mi palabra. Esa es mi palabra favorita.
I love you?
I love you. I love you too.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm falling in love with you because you're fantastic. Yeah. The past few years, she's questioned her purpose in life, wondering if at her age there was anything left to give back. Her giving spirit was rekindled after learning about Indianapolis-based Anchor of Hope Charities.
She committed so much time and effort to children she didn't even know.
The group works with families in Africa in the country of Zambia. Young girls need dresses, and Rosario stepped in to make it happen. The fabrics of various colors and patterns are donated. Give her a few minutes, and she'll craft clothing she hopes will build confidence and show that someone cares.
Y ahora esto me gratifica a mí más.
I get so much satisfaction from this because I feel useful, because I'm doing something for others. That makes me happy.
Lo más hermoso que tiene el mundo, la vida, es compartir.
The most beautiful thing life offers is the ability to share. Poor are the people who are selfish and only think of themselves.
Rosario finds so much joy watching the girls on Facebook modeling the outfits made in her room. Despite their distance, the thread that binds them together is their mutual love.
Amor es lo más importante.
Love is so important. I feel sorry for people who don't love.
The girls appreciate the great-grandmother across the Atlantic. And those smiles, a continent away, give this seamstress the passion to pursue her purpose one stitch at a time.
Wrtv6 is working for you to keep your kids healthy.
Thanks to you, thousands of dollars have been raised to support Peyton Manning Children's Hospital at St. Vincent.
$253,000.
Because of your contributions, we can continue to expand our care to support Hoosier families.
Transferred over to Dr. Zipes here.
Together, we're making a difference. Thank you, Indiana.
You can still donate at PeytonTelethon.com. Supported in part by Marian University.
You're taking a look at the scene right here from Skycam 6. We've been following this for you for the past 2 hours, and officials just confirmed the school's principal was killed when that bus lurched forward this afternoon. Now, this all happened about 2:45 at the school on Fox Road as kids were getting ready to go home for the day. We have live team coverage tonight from the school and at Riley Hospital for Children. We start with RTV6's Chance Walser, who has been right there on the scene since.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, or if you've been with us for a little while, you just heard several officials with the school district, the mayor of Indianapolis, the mayor of Lawrence, etc., addressing the media and really the public tonight about what happened. This is the scene now as that press conference is wrapping up. There's a lot of media attention here, mostly because that's what you care about. This is what you want to hear about. We have confirmed, sadly, that the principal of this elementary, Susan Jordan, was out after school was let out, was out helping kids get on the bus when a bus lurched forward, hit her and 2 other students, killing Mrs. Jordan. She's a 22-year veteran of this school. She's only one of 2 principals in this school's entire history, and the superintendent calls her simply a great educator.
Buying a car directly from someone can be less intimidating than a big car lot.
Surprisingly, about 1/3 of all used car sales are done through private sellers, peer-to-peer.
The problem, according to Carfax spokesperson Chris Basso, is that Craigslist and other sites aren't regulated, making it the Wild West of car buying.
People can put anything online that they want to sell. These are free sites, and there's really nobody checking up on what that individual is actually representing.
But we wanted to check up on what sellers are claiming. After all, some may not even know about the car's history. Here's what we did to investigate, and you can too. Find ads that sound great. Use the plate numbers to run vehicle history reports. It's a 1999 Ford Explorer. Contact the sellers to set up appointments. That's what we do, although the sellers don't know we're with RTV6. First stop, this Ford Explorer's owner advertised it as having a clean title.
So you said it's got a clean title on it?
Well, yeah, I got to put it in somebody's name.
But we found these records showing it's not a clean title. It's a not actual mileage title, which typically means the odometer's been tampered with or damaged.
Call 6 Investigates is uncovering what led to volunteers blowing the whistle on those accused of mismanaging money and failing to maintain records. Call 6 Investigates' Paris Lubell is working for you tonight to get answers.
It's all because of this, a derail device, and it stops the Indiana Transportation Museum from running on the track, and that includes the fare train.
Right now, the Indiana Transportation Museum is quiet. There's no familiar clickety-clack of train sounds through downtown Noblesville on the weekend. It's because the trains literally can't leave the museum's property. That blue thing on the tracks, think of it as a boot for your car. But because they can't put a boot on a train, they put it on the track. And driving over it would cause the train to fall right off the track. So why is it there? There are many reasons, but it all started after 7 longtime volunteers at the museum blew the whistle on the museum's board of directors.
After Bear ignored our request for an interview, we caught up with Bear outside of court in a case completely unrelated to Chuck Arvos.
Is Chuck going to get his money back?
It's not about getting his money back. He still owes money on the job.
He owes you money?
He does owe me money.
Are you still doing work on people's homes?
No.
Are you still a contractor? Chuck says he lost his life savings because of you.
Get the hell away from me, people.
Why didn't you answer the Attorney General's office?
You guys must be hard up for news.
Are you purposely ripping people off?
But tonight, our Call 6 team received a tip about tax returns being found in a dumpster behind a strip mall. And we were shocked to find that those claims were actually true. Call 6 investigator Paris Lubell joins us with the live story you will see only on RTV6. Paris.
Hey, Todd and Erica, we couldn't believe it at first. When we first pulled up, we saw documents with people's social security numbers and addresses in a dumpster just like this one, and some were even blowing out on the ground. It's not trash that I'm pulling off the ground. It's someone's tax return. Their address and their social security number printed right on the front.
Halloween, dressing up. Gotta have that pumpkin picture.
For Stephanie Valenta, looking at pictures of her daughter Maisie causes a mix of emotions.
There won't ever be these pictures new anymore of her.
On April 25th, Stephanie dropped Maisie off at this Lafayette daycare.
I got a phone call. Her daycare provider let me know that there had been a terrible accident and that she didn't wake up from her nap.
Stephanie and her husband rushed to the hospital, but it was too late to save Maisie. She died at just 13 months old. The investigation showed the provider, Debbie Keys, put Maisie in a crib she knew was broken.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
The President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
That moment early Wednesday morning, Mike Pence there using that phrase for the first time after a campaign like none we've ever seen before. Thank you so much for joining us for Indianapolis This Week in the aftermath of an election night that stunned political observers all across the country. Donald Trump is now the president-elect of the United States, and Indiana Governor Mike Pence now set to become the nation's second in command. It was Pence who strolled out on stage in New York in the early morning hours Wednesday, introducing President-elect Trump to the nation after the concession phone call from Hillary Clinton. And it's been a whirlwind for both ever since. Pence, who campaign insiders say will play a large role in the transition of power at the White House, Thursday there, meeting with Trump and House Speaker Paul Ryan to talk about their agenda for the first 100 days in office. Pence also met with outgoing Vice President Joe Biden there in the White House. Biden's office tweeting this photo of that meeting, saying the two discussed key duties of the Vice President. The Vice President also offered his full support in order to ensure a smooth and seamless transition of power. And of course, this scene at the Indianapolis International Airport, I was there as the governor walked off Trump Force 2, holding hands there with his wife and mother, thanking hundreds of supporters who had gathered for that welcome home rally.
Everything I am everything I will ever be, I owe to God, my parents, my family, and the good people of the great state of Indiana. And so let me just say to each one of you, I hope you will always know that wherever my duties take me as Vice President of the United States of America, every morning that I wake up, my heart will always be where the moonlight is fair along the Wabash.
Donald Trump was just part of a Republican landslide in Indiana. The GOP won every statewide office, often by big margins, and that includes the governor's race as well.